I'm heading our innovation team or digital team, technology, so to say, right? So, I mean, data is our currency. Everything, all the decisions should be based in data. Now that's a high ambition, and the reality often looks a little bit different, right? So it's a goal that you're trying to get close to. So there's more and more data that you put in place, more and more data that is informing and guiding decisions, and yeah, I mean. Also we at Ruby, we are on the way to getting better and better at this. We did have already some really nice results though that really pay in on the idea, from much higher sales efficiency through digitizing, automating the sales process, to higher conversion rates in our IBE, or just in general also to understand where, for example, the issues in our digital guest journey are, by, for example, measuring customer effort, for example, have really helped in the past and are guiding more and more decisions and budget allocation.
Great, Lucas. Thank you for sharing. And regarding customer effort, could you just dive a little bit on that one? Maybe some of the examples? Yeah.
Customer effort. I mean, that's you can do this really granular. Customer effort is pretty much a question you ask a user in the session. How easy will be made for you today to, for example, choose your rooms, or to enter your name when checking in, stuff like that. So you can make it really granular. It's a scale from 1 to 7, so you will get a numeric score, and by collecting those ratings, you can pretty much determine, for example, within our IBE, what step we should improve on next. And that's by then a data informed decision, so to say, to focus on, for example, one specific step in general.
Definitely, nowadays super valuable. And if we stay in the topic of data, then Isabel, according to what Lucas is saying, can you also reflect on what you are seeing in hoteliers about how they are using data and what opportunities do you see?
Sure. And I think Lucas' point on making such an important statement on asking these questions to guests. I don't think we ask enough. And generally speaking, and I say really generally speak, I don't think hoteliers do use data to the fullest or medium extent. Most of hoteliers are kind of sitting on a gold mine of data. But to be honest, I don't think it's their entire fault. If you think about, you have all of these data all over the place, how do you start making sense of it, right? It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, but then you are missing a few pieces. So it is really complicated if you don't have the right tools to do so, and if you have various sources all over the place. And the first point is really asking yourself, who are my guests? Why are they choosing my hotel? Which service are they booking over and over again? Why are my customers abandoning the carts, for example? And data always holds the answers to all of these questions. So I do believe the industry is going in that direction, like in the right direction. And we see many cases like Ruby using the data, and cases like Ruby are the ones that really offer the best guest experience. And I think sometimes we also forget to kind of connect the dots. So if you have a better guest experience, that will lead to better reviews. When those positive reviews start pouring in, then you will attract more guests, and that means more revenue. It's like at the end of the day, that's what we all want. But it's also about if you have that data at your fingertips. And another opportunity I see, and a little bit to sum it up, it's brainstorm with your staff. I think it's really important. They do contact with guests on a daily basis. Analyze how much time they spend answering repeated questions. And if you have all of this in mind, you will be a step ahead. With data, you can be kind of a mind reader, and that's, you anticipate the needs or create new ones. And then time is money. So data is not just a bunch of boring numbers and statistics. It's your ally. You should use it as your secret weapon, and it will reveal the opportunities of, higher score, staff's workload, guests' frustrations, like Lucas mentioned, and also opportunities in upselling, really.
That's great. Thank you, Isabel. I like that parallel, being a mind reader, right?
Yeah.
It's very nice. If we have any questions from the audience, please feel free to use the Q&A tool to just put your questions there, and we will add it to the list so our panelists can also talk a bit about that. And to all the panelists, if you want to add anything, please just feel free to unmute yourselves and jump right into the conversation. And okay, let's going to continue. And okay, Lucas, we're still on the data topic, right? And now we understand that efficient data management, like we've been discussing, is crucial for any hotel. Can you talk a bit about how the collaboration between Shiji's PMS and Bookboost has impacted not only the collection of data, but also the capabilities to use it to anticipate and exceed guest expectations?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Bookboost as well as Shiji, for us in our projects, in general speaking, are systems where we know we can count on a large flexibility when it comes to what you meant with collecting data. It's not that we are overly, how can I say, performance based when it comes to that. Nevertheless, Shiji and Bookboost would enable us to do much more as we're doing right now. Nevertheless, there are some neat things that we're already doing, and as I described earlier, it's really a process towards, and you will always be on the journey towards, collecting more data and being more data driven in that sense, and in the neat stuff that we're doing with these systems is pretty much, there's some nice things, for example, based on the connection between Bookboost and Shiji, we're able to really build advanced filters in Bookboost. For the audience, what does that mean now? It pretty much means that Shiji or SAP does give us a lot of different data points about our guests, and Bookboost can, you can really neatly render them in Bookboost. So you can really go, yeah, okay, well, I want to build a filter now that enables me to only target, let's say, group guests of a certain nationality within a certain environment with these kinds of demographic information, and if we have an idea for a new filter, if we want to render a new audience and it doesn't exist in Bookboost yet, then we get that going together, and that is one of the things. Another thing is that, for example, based on these filters, what we were able to do in Bookboost is, what I personally really like or I'm really proud of are these conditional email templates. So we're working with code and low code within our emails, meaning that if certain conditions are meeting you, and these conditions are always connected to obviously the information that Bookboost receives from SAP, the granular information, if that information is being met, the email template is going to be different. So that was quite technical. Now, what does that mean in the everyday life, right? In everyday life, that pretty much means that, you're getting a different communication depending on how often you've been at Ruby, what kind of, if you group guest or not group guest, right? What kind of property you're going to, at what time you're arriving, all that kind of stuff. So, and instead of having, 20 different email templates that are being fired depending on when something happens, and then, I don't know, you change your font or your header picture and image and have to change that all over the place, we only change it in one email template. That's really a great benefit that we achieved through, number one, Shiji, SAP being so granular in its configuration and data model, and then on the other hand, was being able to mirror that and actually work with that.
Maybe
sorry. Please, Tobias.
What I really love about the integration between Bookboost and Shiji Enterprise platform is also from a reservations agent point of view. If you see a message, you already directly see if you know the guest already. You see when is his or her next stay with us, and then you can go from reacting to proactively yeah, messaging this person, or you know, surprising them, actually telling them, hey, I guess you're writing for your next day in, I don't know, Amsterdam. And yeah, that's those surprise moments that will be remembered from the guest point of view.
And I think just to add on this, on top of both answers, is the beauty of this partnership, right? And the connection is that it's involving, as Lucas was saying, with the filters, that if you have more needs, you can add more filters, is also that this connection or that interface with Bookboost can evolve, right? So if there is more information needed now because the needs are changing, yes, we can, you know, we can expand the information span of what needs to be delivered to Bookboost. So absolutely beneficial.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And as Raul was mentioning, that is really interesting, because then we know that guest expectations and guest needs continue to evolve. So, of course, the data that we are getting from them also will change, right? So it's really important to continue to update that part as well. Now we're going to dip a little bit into personalization and segmentation. What is Ruby doing with that? How are they using it? But first, let's reflect a bit on how personalization has evolved. So Tobias, how has this happened? Like, how personalization has evolved in the last decade for hoteliers? And what do you think are the main challenges and opportunities in 2024?
Well, for a few years ago, personalization meant, yeah, mentioning the guest's name in an email. And for some systems or hoteliers, this is still a great personalization. However, I think we've come to a place, especially with systems like Shiji and Bookboost, who yeah, have such a great data structure and are integrated that deeply, that there are so many possibilities in terms of proactively offering specific services. Not because we already know a lot about the guest, but also that we can anticipate it based on similar profiles that the system itself or AI, whatever is behind that, can already grasp information based on the stay date, the age, the length of stay, maybe even, or the room category, to then follow up on things, because they know, okay, this person or a whole lot of other persons stayed in room X, and they then yeah, wanted to experience something special, and they booked I don't know, a special package in the afternoon. So therefore we can send out a message, an email, whatever, to this guest as well. And yeah, the challenges are that the focus has been on the guest only, and it was all about the guest journey, I think. So all of the last years, everything was great and well, on the outside, but in the back, there were so many people involved creating this one message, and sometimes it was even written by hand and not sent out automatically. And I think that is something that we've grown into, that now also I'd say the back office part is more and more automated. And as Lucas mentioned, more and more, yeah, intelligent. Yeah.
Great, Tobias. Thank you for elaborating on that. And Lucas, if we reflect on this topic, personalization, and then we look at Ruby, what do you think have been your main learnings regarding using personalization in your daily operations? How are you guys using it?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell one fun story from the early beginnings with Bookboost. We wanted to see if, and that is already 4 years ago or so ago, when I joined Ruby. We wanted to understand if guests would be willing to you know, abandon room cleaning for some kind of trade. And I mean, 4 years ago, the concept of green room was around, but it wasn't as widely adopted as now. So we're pretty early with this. And I also remember back in the days, it was very you know, you could choose for it, but it was also kind of okay if you couldn't. And I mean, nowadays when you think about it, it has totally changed. But back in the days, it was a bit of a touchy subject. You know, how can we trade away the room cleaning from guests? I remember, for example, with Bookboost, what we did was that we were running a few campaigns, pretty much offering trades. So, hey, you know, your room cleaning, you know, it's using resources and stuff, and most people don't need it. So why would you want to have it? Don't you want to trade it against, you know, a cocktail in the bar? Because I don't know if you guys all know Ruby so well, but you know, we're really ambitious when it comes to our bars. You know, they're really beautiful city bars. You know, very dark, very nice furniture. You know, it's just a really beautiful atmosphere there, and we really want people to come to our bar and enjoy really high quality drinks. And so yeah, so we offered that trade, and we soon started to understand in the data that this offer was most successful, for example, more towards the weekend, right? Because obviously a cocktail, except of in England, the day didn't matter. The cocktail was always taken. But in most countries, it was, or most, you know, where we tried it, it was mostly towards the weekend that was very successful. We started to look at who it's most successful with, you know, so you know, we wouldn't target people that wouldn't be interested in it with an unnecessary deal, right? And yeah, so in that way, we, you know, data-drivenly personalized this outreach more and more. And I think we, you know, we ended up pretty much being able to, you know, render a demographic group that would almost certainly, with an almost 100% conversion rate, take up on the offer. You know, we took everybody out that, you know, where it was more like a lucky shot, right? So we wouldn't annoy them with it. Yeah, that way, you know, we personalized an offer really well. We micro personalized it until, you know, we all remember through, you know, Corona and the financial situation going with it. You know, I think that was really the explosion when green room became, you know, sort of the default standard in most hotels. You know, but that was a really nice story that pays in on the question you just asked. Other than that, so what we're doing right now at Ruby, you know, as I said before, we're changing a little bit the tone of voice depending on how much you've been there. So certain tips about the hotel we don't send to you anymore when you've already been there once or twice. Then instead we elevate it with other content. You know, we're personalizing our communication. I mean, communication is relevant for Bookboost, right? We're personalizing all communication based on what kind of travel segment you belong to. So, for example, groups, right? Yeah, and I mean the future looks bright when it comes to personalization. As Tobias said, right? Personalization is not writing your name somewhere. Personalization has can or runs in many other categories. Also, I give an example. Right now, we are conceptualizing our new check-in kiosk, and you know we're also thinking a little bit on how can we make the check-in kiosk just feel a bit different for people that are members at Ruby. You know. So, and that is not a personalization in the sense of, let's say Tobias was a member at Ruby, which I hope you still are. then we wouldn't personalize it in the sense of writing, "Hey Tobias, hi Tobias, hi Tobias," but instead, you know, his check-in would actually feel a little different, right? So, and these kinds of information we're driving with data that comes from Shiji or that is in Bookboost.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. And we actually have a question that is a bit related to some of the points that we were mentioning about building, I guess, journey or like the type of communications that you're sending out. So Karin from Brussels, she's asking, all sounds indeed pretty interesting. I do have a question. With the OTAs sending out their own messaging, how do we avoid that guests get too many messages altogether? They already are complaining now that between the property messaging together with those of the OTAs, they basically are getting confused. And personally, I'm personally leaning towards less and better. So how do we design efficient customer journeys without the interference of the OTAs? Anyone would like to take this question?
I mean, that's basically what Lucas already said before. If you have the possibility to set up proper segments, there's one way to already, yeah, maybe limit the messages sent out to the OTA guests, or to try to send out the most important message in the beginning, grab their real email address, and this way try to switch the conversation maybe also to a different channel. Instead of going via email, having the opportunity to then go to maybe WhatsApp, maybe SMS, whatever the guest prefers, to grab their attention in a more personal way.
Yeah, I think something to add to this is that hoteliers also get very scared with complaints. You also have to see how many complaints, right? First, and then secondly, like Ruby did, don't be afraid to test it out. Test something, see how it goes, and iterate. And by checking how that journey, for example, that you have built went, you can actually see what works and what not. It is always a challenge with the OTAs. Also, if you have a really strong brand, your guests will want to be attached to your brand. So for them, it's also valuable if they know, okay, I can actually contact the hotel through WhatsApp or directly with my personal email. So I think that starts there, where you can grab their direct contact details and then start the real journey directly with them.
Thank you, Isa. And thank you, Tobias. And now that we are in the topic of guest journeys, Lucas, can you tell us how has Ruby mapped their guest journey? Like, how do they create? You already mentioned that you do it for different type of the guest segments, right? That you take into consideration that. Do you have any other best practices whenever it's the time of creating guest journeys?
I mean, this is a really broad topic, right? And I could talk about this a lot, but let me say so much, because I think what you're really hinting at is how you use that in order to create you know, just good experiences, good solutions to problems, right? You found. In that sense, of course, like before we design a solution, right? So we, of course, wondering who's our customer here? What do they want? You know, what do they want behind what they're saying, what they want, right? So we're really trying to drill down on what it is, right? And for that, you know, of course, there are different methods you use, right? I mean, probably most of everybody here knows this, right? Personas, user journeys, you know, different interview technique or interviews, right? Different kinds of user testing, etc., right? Yeah, and how we use Bookboost in the process. I mean, to be honest, what can I say? I mean, on the one hand, Bookboost is a very important core system for us, right? So naturally, we build our architecture around it, or the architecture of solutions. So, and other than that, Bookboost is a great communications tool, right? So, and a full solution. I mean, I'm talking here with a digital perspective. A full solution consists, in my world, let's say, out of a flow and regarding communication. So, for example, right now, what we're conceptualizing a little bit is when you check in at our kiosk, right? So I just said earlier, we mentioned earlier, we're designing our new check-in kiosk. You know, we're also thinking like, you know, once you've checked in, you know, it's easy to forget your room number, for example, right? So we might send that to you then at the time of check-in, so that you always have an SMS or an email with your room number, right? So you can look it up again. And yeah, and so that being said, so Bookboost is a big part of the full solution, right? So it carries the information, you know, that enable the personalization. It carries the contact details. It carries the templates for communication, right? And then in the end of the day, I mean, Bookboost. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm using Bookboost to do user personas, user testing, and all that kind of stuff as creative input, but right, I'm using it as a tool in order to work with the tools and methods that, you know, me and my team have, right? And in that sense, yeah, that's really it. That's how we use Bookboost.
Thank you, Lucas. So now we've talked a bit about data. Then we've talked a bit about personalization and use some examples from Ruby's perspective. And now we're going to get a little bit into automation. So yeah, let's keep talking about how Ruby is using these different angles of technology. So what would you say, Lucas, are the main areas where Ruby is using automation? And could you share some examples of how Shiji's PMS has played a key role in this?
So in the last years, we put a lot of effort into automating our back of house processes. I mean, I would say we have probably one of the best automated overall sales processes in the industry. I'm pretty sure we're using almost 400 automations at this point in order to drive our process across 50 users and four different sales funnels. I mean, this is built on a really powerful CRM. So now how are we using, for example, Shiji SAP in this? You know, data in SAP. So for example, consumption data in SAP. So how many nights certain companies, for example, spend, or certain people, right, can inform these sales processes in order for our sales reps to act more personalized with their leads or with our accounts. Right. So, and in that instance, of course, SAP holds information that through the way SAP is built, and the powerful API, we are able to, you know, inform other very, let's say, automated processes. Yeah, other examples, our reservation office, we're currently improving the automation degree of that. We have a very highly automated financial department, where also Shiji plays or SAP plays a important role in that. Yeah, pretty much so. And Bookboost is right now our customer database, so that which also drives a lot of automation, especially in regards to the communication. And in the future, hopefully more towards the digital experience overall, which we are now investing in.
Great examples. And definitely we see that more and more brands are trying to lean towards automation and seeing the benefits of it. So regarding that, Raul, I would like to ask you, how can hoteliers embark on this automation journey? What are the essential first steps that they should take?
That's a very good question. I think that's the question overall when it comes to automation. And I think automation goes hand in hand in the digitalization journey of hoteliers and hotels in general. So there's no generic answer to what step it is, because it depends on a lot of different factors, right? If the resources and in what point of your journey you are. But I think in the end, it really comes down to few questions that I would like to give to the audience with them to answer themselves. So maybe that helps them to understand a bit, to navigate through this journey and get the best approach for their hotel or their local chain or global chain. So one of the questions definitely to ask yourself, how do I want to work with the data? So we talked about data quite a bit, and this will answer you in which way you want to start automation. And is it automation just, so what is the goal of the automation? Is it really to have less employees in the business, or would you like to automate administration work in a hospitality industry to generate more time with the guests? So those are a couple few questions that can be asked, as well as then what can my current system pull out of data? How can I work already with that? And I think throughout all the conversation we had today already, which were really interesting, it really is about how can I work with it? How do I get as a hotelier the autonomy back to work with my data how I want it, to use any additional system that makes sense for my hospitality background. And another topic that is always looked at secondarily, but even more important when we come to automation, but also especially digitalization, is the data security. Hoteliers don't like to talk about it too much because it's always a lot of homework to do. But I think these are the three key pillars to ask themselves: what is the data security environment? How is it set it up? And what relies to it, to then make the best choice to do the first steps into this journey.
Maybe if I can add something to that, what I've came across over the last few months is that a lot of hotels don't even know their processes. So a really deep process analysis helps a lot to then also think about what you can actually automate. Usually the question is, or the answer is, why are you doing what you're doing, the way you're doing it, because we always done it that way, and nobody or rarely people have wondered why this is the case. And so what I usually like to do with hotels is to really go deep into the processes and ask questions. Who's involved? Which tools or channels are involved? How's your mood as an employee doing that real task? And that also compared with the effort the task actually has. And surprise, usually the mood is really bad if the effort is really high. So and that's what I meant before when I said we have to have a look in the back office processes much more, I think now, than we have been looking at the front office or the guest journey parts. Because if your team is happy, I'm really sure they will also take care of the guest journey in a much better way than they can, as they have been doing before, because they were occupied with doing stupid repetitive tasks.
I can definitely just reconfirm that what Tobias said right now, right? So when we are in conversation with customers, and when we talk about PMS systems or Shiji enterprise platform, it really is more than just to tick functionalities, is to challenge the hotelier about their processes and really to rethink, do you really still need to do it this way? Because it has been done 20 years, like for 20 years. So I absolutely can just reinforce that approach.
I can add something else, and I think it will go into what Tobias and Rolf said, is like, talk with your teams, right? Don't create silos. They already exist because it's a business. It will, if you brainstorm with your operations team, they will also understand why you decide to implement such technology. Because too often happens that a GM or CEO brings some solutions. They do know it will help them, but they don't explain to their operations team why this will help them. So just connect all the dots and talk, brainstorm.
Absolutely. That's sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
you want to
no
say
worries.
something, but I can only agree. And this is the cool thing about the so-called IKEA effect. If you involve your team in an early stage, if you build something new, they adapt it as their system. The same way they worked around and found solutions about things that had not have been automated in the past. They adapted this as their process. That's why it's so hard for them to let go sometimes. And if you involve them early, really early, it will help them to let go. And
Will become their new baby, right?
exactly. And find new solutions with them instead of just giving them, hey, that's your new tool, use it, have fun with it, and don't bother me anymore. No, this is doomed to fail.
Spot on.
Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Such interesting points of view. And we actually have a new question from the audience that I wanted to read. We have Daniel Wolks asking, data-driven customer or guest feedback has become the standard across many industries. This approach can identify common trends and issues. However, it often struggles to capture underlying emotions or the motivation behind leaving the feedback. What are your thoughts on using AI for sentiment analysis to solve this?
I can go on this. Thanks, Daniel, for the question. In my eyes, of course, sentiment analysis will be more and more important. But I locate it very much in the tools that are offering the communication portals. So meaning, for example, if you're the owner of a ticketing system or some form of communication or CRM, then that's on you to connect all these data points. What of course needs to be done on the business side is that you inform that system with as much relevant data as that system needs to operate efficiently or to operate effectively, let's say like that. but yeah, it's the trend, so to say, to be waited for. Let's see.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the question, Daniel. And if anyone else have a question, please go ahead, use the Q&A section or the chat, because we are reading both. And now we are still in automation in technology. And Lucas, in your experience, how technology can eliminate these so-called silos and holes in a property's daily processes?
Yeah, I mean, how can I say, it's not every technology can can eliminate them. It's a certain kind of technology that can eliminate them. I mean, we've seen in many areas and in the hospitality industry a little belated, but we've seen the rise of so-called API-first softwares and platforms. So I'm very fond of that technology because that really enables to do exactly what you just asked. And I also referenced an example earlier where I talked about our highly automated sales process that is actually informed with data from Shiji. So, and in the back of the days, right? I mean, Shiji or Shiji Enterprise Platform would have been a tool, you know, that would have been guarded and protected by the reservations office, right? And you know, data you could only get from it through, I don't know, PDF export or an Excel CSV or something like that, right? And with that, you could not efficiently inform the sales process, right? You could not trigger alerts and automations that make the sales reps able to, you know, act more in a more personal manner with their leads, right? Or see certain opportunities. And in Ruby's case, by having implemented 2 API-first platforms in that area, so an API-first CRM as well as an API-first property management system, we're actually able to drive those initiatives where we, as you would call it, break up the silo, right, or eliminate the silo, right? Because you know, the reservations office can guard the property management system and keep it clean all day long, which is also very important. Nevertheless, we can use the data to inform other business processes. So in that sense, how can technology eliminate those silos? Well, again, not every technology can do that, but API-first technology can surely do that. Nevertheless, it's just by having you know, signed contracts with these platforms, you will still have silos. So then it really comes to an efficient you know, digital management and a good change process, right? Because you know, you can I guess there are, you know, a few IT and digital managers here sitting today. You know, like, you're not supposed to have the ideas, right? The ideas are all around the teams. You know, they know how they can work better. You just need to elevate that with your methods and tools that you bring, right? Yeah, and all of that will be most effectively with API-first platforms that are probably not really putting a limitation to the needs and wishes from your stakeholders.
Very good point, Lucas. And by working with so many hoteliers on a daily basis and onboarding so many, I can only emphasize that the technology alone cannot do everything, right? So knowing your process, gathering all the ideas, knowing exactly what you want to put in place, it's a must. It's an effort, an initial effort that pays off very quickly.
Yeah, and I can only emphasize to also have enough people available, or a dedicated system owner or a manager who really takes care of the program. As you said, just having the system doesn't make you really any more automated. You need to take care of it. You need to implement it. You need to constantly learn with it. And I mean, none of the systems we were talking about stand still. You know, they develop on a weekly basis, basically, and you need to keep up. You need to tell your teams how they work. You have to help them to experiment with them also. Not only doing their daily thing, but maybe find other ways to also challenge the system providers, and therefore creating a new idea of something.
And I think that's a key word here, is really like, and this is how also us from Shiji really go into conversation, is never that we are just provider of a system, but it's literally a partnership, right? Because it is involving And that's why we're always looking for this exchange and that conversation to involve with the customer. And Ruby is one of the key accounts that we involved together from a very early stage, and had a vision together. And this goes always hand in hand. And do you get it right all the time? No, but it's really about to challenge it and then to improve it and make it better.
Definitely. Great. Thank you, everyone. And now we're going to dig into the next topic, which is lean luxury. So Ruby talks a lot about this. Lucas, can you explain for the audience what is lean luxury and how Ruby is using technology to create these luxurious experiences?
Sure. I think lean luxury, in short, means that we put a lot of emphasis on the touch points in your guest journey, where you have a very, a very, how can you say, like I'm missing the English word now, but where you get really close to the product, right? So, for example, the bed that you sleep in is a really high quality bed, right? So the coffee that you might drink eventually on the room, right, which we could only supply to you, as most hotels do it with some form of capsuled machine, right? It's not so good coffee. So we take this out of the equation, right? And you can come down you can come down whenever and get the best coffee at the barista machine at the bar. And that principle, we carry throughout the whole product design, but we're also trying to, embed into our digital space. Again, as I said earlier, right, in the past years, we've focused a lot on back of house process efficiency. In the future, or not in the future, but right now we will be investing a lot into our, digital experience. What means lean luxury for me in the digital space? Well, it means, first of all, it means that we have a very distinct digital design feeling. So that we have a very, smooth and elegant, user experience, right? That comes in with certain kinds of animations, that comes in with certain kinds elements on the website behave, right? So that it's not, let's say, overloading with things happening, right, that you don't know where you can look, but that is just really precise yet smooth and therefore elegant. That's key number one in a experience that you could call in luxury. Another thing is that we want to make sure that our different digital tools are very seamlessly integrated. So yeah, for example, let's say you're finishing your pre-check-in on your mobile phone, right? And then by the time that your room is, ready for you to come in, like, why is not your room key directly activating on your phone, so to say, right? So seamless integration. We're not there yet, but we will be going there. Seamless integration is a big part of it. Another could be a high degree of functionality, right? So anything that you can self-service in terms of functionality, you should be able to self-service. This functionality should be designed in an effortless way. So it shouldn't feel like you're interacting with one of our backend systems directly, but instead we've actually put a lot of thought and value into designing that interface in a way that it's very intuitive for you, right? So effortlessness, intuitivity. What pays in on intuitivity and effortlessness is a simple navigation, right? And on top of all of that, personalized user interfaces, so that you have the feeling that this is yours, right? Not yours in a way that you personalize it the way you like it, but yours in the sense that it speaks to you, right? So that it adjusts to you, who you are, how you want to use things, right? So, and that for me would be carry on the lean luxury principle into our digital space.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. And continuing on the topic of lean luxury, then Raul, could you provide insights into how Shiji's PMS analytics tool have helped Ruby in making informed decisions and enhancing the lean luxury concept?
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about a lot about data and how important data is, but one thing is also to put it in a kind of visual format that you can also read it and understand it and take strategic decision out of it. So with the Shiji Analytics, what we enhanced for Ruby was really to helping them to understand in the overall, what's the overall revenue, what is the company's revenue. So for the sales and revenue department to really understand all those aspects, as well as maybe cancellation trends, group statistics, and customer origins. So it's really just to give a visual format to those things to read the data properly and easier for sure.
Thank you for the answer, and thank you to all our panelists and all our attendants for joining today. We have reached the end of our webinar. We don't have any more questions from the audience. So we just want to thank you for joining this session. And thank you, Lucas, for sharing all the insights about Ruby and how you guys are using technology and implementing your guest journeys as well.
Sure. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you to all our panelists as well. And see you in February for our next webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.